All right, y'all. You know how you click on something? This is something I just can't stop listening to. And I want y'all to hear it too. Y'all can always go over to the channel. This is on Tony Robinson L's channel. L, as we heard from Run March, it's for Cherokee. And it stands for something else too. I wrote it down in my notebook. I might share it at the end. But this is just mind blowing. So let's just listen. Let's do this.
Is a lot of the stuff that they've given us in terms of our history is a total fabrication. And that fabrication has been co-signed by both white people and black people. And that the quote-unquote white man and the quote-unquote black man is working in tandem to keep everybody off of the loop of who and what they really are. Now, we know there's no such country in the world called Africa America, but you know how much money people have made off of the idea of being an African American? Look at Black History Month. You know how much money people have made, black people I'm talking about, have made off of perpetuating an idea that you were nothing but a slave? When that term slave don't even phenotypically describe you, that describes somebody else. You see? So I'm saying all that to say that what we perceive as our history is basically a regurgitated version of a fictitious history that was given to us after a period in which world history was reconstructed and given back to us, with us being at the bottom. And unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the continent of Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. And brother, with that, now, I know more to speak about nationality. Well, how important is nationality, and basically, what nationality should we claim? Should we say, we can't really say African, or we saying we're saying black is not saying you have a nationality. So how important is it? I know it's important.
Great question, brother.
Yeah.
It's a great question. That's the one thing that black folks nobody ever talked to them about except the Prophet Noble Jew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is because this goes back to what happened in 1774. See, all of these black scholars all over the world, right, they were kicking us this whole history, right, of who we are and what we're supposed to be and whatever. But none of them ever tell you why we can't get together or what happened that broke us up. Have they?
Not yet. Not at all.
Okay. So if we can agree on that, then we can agree that somebody is not giving us the whole story. So that means then we got to go out and get it ourselves, because what would benefit somebody else not giving us our history? Who benefits from that? Do we? No. Sure. The only people who would benefit from that are the people who are up with your history and your birthright today. Correct? Put it like this. If I was wearing a sheepskin coat, I was wearing this coat, people knew me for that coat, right? And then one day, I wind up losing the coat to you, or you wind up tricking me out the coat, right? Now you wearing the coat. Now people see you wearing the coat that I used to wear, but now they seeing you wearing the coat and they don't see me. So after a generation or two, they believe that that's your coat. You understand? Because the only person they see you wearing it is you. You understand? But what happens one day if all of a sudden I come back now and say, look, bro, that's my coat. Now, you can be honorable, right, and take the coat off and give it back to me because you know it's mine in the beginning. Or you could do what a devil would do, which would be to get other people to say that, well, I ain't never seen him in that coat. I ain't never seen you in that coat. I only see this white man in that coat. So it's got to be the white man's coat, the only one I've seen with my own eyes wearing it. That don't change the fact that it used to be your coat, you understand? But now, because he's been wearing it, and somebody else co-signing him wearing it, now it's his coat, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now apply that same rationale now to a country. See, what happened was, I'll give you the date. On October 4th, 1774, at 11 o'clock, right, in the afternoon, at 6 Chestnut Street in Philadelphia, which was the capital of our country. When we ran the country, our capital was at a place called Philae, or Philadelphia, what we now know today as Philadelphia. And Philadelphia back then went all the way in as far as Montana, when you look at some of the old maps. But that's neither here nor there. We got together because at the time that this happened, from 1492, right, we were basically in an internal conflict. We had a global empire that was running everything. And around that time, though, our lighter-skinned children, the people today, we would call them, we see them walking around the street, we would call them Dominicans or Puerto Ricans or Bolivians or black people speaking Spanish. These people became known as the Castilian Aragon, or Aragon. And they helped depose our cousins and them over there in a place called Granada that we now call Spain. And what that did was it created a schism amongst us that created a whole era of what the white man calls the age of adventure. But this was the age of piracy, in which to retaliate for us being enslaved and kicked out of our cousins and getting kicked out of Spain, they wind up ushering in over 450 years of piratism, where we was enslaving Caucasian people in mass. There's a book you can get on this called The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War by a guy named James R. Tinzar, if you don't believe me. There's another book you can get called 10 Years of Secret Diplomacy by a guy named Edward Morrell that gets into this explicitly. There's another book called Othello's Children in the New World by Jose Pimenta Bay, Amor, gets into this explicitly. But specifically what wound up happening was that this era of barbarism or piratism started, and we just started to enslave everybody that wasn't down with the real. And so these barbarous Moors that we today call pirates started to enslave so many white people that over here we had to start making laws as to not enslave these white people anymore. These people today that we call white, but back then we was calling them Peregenes, Albanus, Gauls, meaning pilgrims from Gaul, meaning white slaves from what is now France. Okay? And we was enslaving them to such a degree that they had to make laws that still exist to this day, that the Moors, whether they was free or not, to not enslave Christians anymore. This is how bad it got. So it got so bad that other Moors now started, that was noble, that was over here, started to go and participate in this barbarous act. And it got to be such a big thing that you had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of white folks, Eurozoids as I call them, being enslaved. So after the legislations was put through, we realized that this wasn't the best way for us to participate, and that we had to break away from the global empire that we had, because the slavery was starting to decay the empire, and it was starting to be based on that. And the empire was founded on the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality, which are the 5 tenets, 5 to 6 to 7 tenets of what is called an isonomy. I-S-O-N-O-M-I. An isonomy is the ultimate form of government of which all governments come from. If there wasn't an isonomy, there would be no such thing as a republic, a democracy, a corporatocracy, an oligarchy. Any type of government on the world that exists today comes out of that. That's why we don't hear about it. You see what I'm saying? Because that's indicative to us as Moorish people who are Tonkin, meaning born of the soil of the land. Me and you that was born here. We always been here. You understand? So based on that, the name of our country, or the country that existed before the United States existed, that we were running, was called the Societas Republicae E.A. al Americanos Estados, which is Latin for the Almoroccan Republican Society of the Moors. Out of the Societas Republicae y Almoricanos came the law or the Union of the Six Nations. Out of the Union of the Six Nations came the Iroquois Confederacy. Out of the Iroquois Confederacy came the Continental Congress. Out of the Continental Congress came the United States Congress. See? But again, this history is predicated on us knowing who and what we are. So by 1774, this thing got so hectic that the only way that we could really protect ourselves and protect the posterity, meaning our future generation, was by drawing a line in the sand and saying that we wasn't going to be down with the foolishness no more. And that's what we did. So on October 14th, under Scorpio, excuse me, is that Scorpio? No, that's Libra. Under Libra, we got together at Philadelphia Hall at 11 o'clock and declared the first constitution, the first free national constitution ever created in the world. Today we call that the Articles of Confederation. That is your and my free national constitution of the government that existed here before the United States government. The United States government at the time did not exist in 1774. Remember, they was all slaves of Britain. Therefore, they did not have any country. They could not free themselves because they were slaves themselves. Jefferson, Washington, Madison, what's the other name? Adams, name them. They all slaves. They were all esquires, right? And an esquire is a squire of the court or the crown. And that means that they were under the jurisdiction of Britain. Therefore, they were slaves they damn self. So how could they form their own country if they were under the jurisdiction of a king that had already been locking them up based upon them trying to break out of the colonies and the plantations? So we, the Moors, we got together and we said we're going to put the line in the sand now that if you're going to be in the Societas Republicae y Almoricanos Estados, then you have to declare what your nationality is as a free Moor. Don't it say in the Constitution that we the people who provide together for the common defense, do so to bring forth what? A more perfect union, right?
Oh, wow.
Which is a union of perfect Moors, or Moors who are perfecting themselves. But because they spell Moor, M-O-R-E, see, that throw you off. It make you feel like they not talking about you, but we the people can be translated into the word Lenape. And the Lenape were the so-called Algonquin. And the Algonquin were the so-called Iroquois. And the Iroquois were the so-called Moors. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? But, again, at the time that this happened, we get together, we say, look, only these Moors who are functioning with a free national name, meaning taking the appellation Il, E-L, or Bay, E-E-Y, at the end of their name will be protected by the free national constitution. Because you had noble Moors that was born here that were now doing wild stuff. They were entering into piracy agreements, right? Enslaving Moors as well as so-called Christian slaves, right? Then you had, I know I'm doing the radio show. Then they did that, right? And created a different space for them to be in. So that just kind of threw everything off. So we got tired. That's like today, me giving you a bunch of debt notes, what they call money, right? Greenbacks. And I say, okay, take this money and go and open a school. Now, instead of you taking the money to open a school in the name of the Moors or the name of your people, which is the Eels and the Bay, you're going to go open up a school, but you're going to not name it Eel and Bay. You're going to name it Africa. Or you're going to name it something else because you're making money with these European Moors, you understand? Which are foreign to those of us that was born here. Like, think about that. If you was really imported from Africa, then that means when you do a crime, how come they don't deport you to Africa? They can't send you nowhere. They can't send you nowhere but where you been at.